Its program is getting started. Thank you so much for joining us. We will now begin. Will you please join me in welcoming to the stage Roxbury Community College President, Dr. Jonathan Jefferson.
Yep. All right. Welcome to Roxbury Community College, Boston's home for civic and cultural dialogue and engagement. I am thrilled to be with you this evening for a critical discussion on local and state investments in our greater community. Mike, it's on. I hate holding microphones. Let's see what we can do here. Move that up. Move that there. All right. Think you can hear me now, right? Should I be a teacher? If you can hear me, clap once. All right, there we go. I want to give a couple of thank yous. First, I want to thank Charlie and Dr. Brooks for choosing to host this discussion at RCC. And Charlie, of course, thank you for your unparalleled support for RCC and the Reggie Lewis Track and Athletic Center. We're here tonight because we know that economic opportunity for all Boston residents depends on equal access to quality education, workforce development, employment, housing, food, and healthcare. Given the turbulence at the federal level, we are privileged to live in a city and state led by brilliant, compassionate leaders who are committed to providing residents with these resources using local and state funds. And while we here in Boston are a beacon of light in this country, we can never rest on our laurels. We must constantly improve. Conversations like the one we're going to have this evening are critical to continued improvement. As president of Roxbury Community College, I would like to take a moment to speak about the incredible impact of state and local funding on this college. Thanks to Mass Educate and Mass Reconnect, we have seen unprecedented enrollment growth over the past 2 years. In the fall of 2024, our year-over-year credit enrollment increased by 30%. And this past fall, we took that number and grew by an additional 12%. I think that deserves a round of applause. At RCC, there are currently 2,316 students who are pursuing 21,384 credits, and another 600 plus students who are enrolled in workforce development. If you've been following it, you will know that we have not had 3,000 students here in the last 7 years. While we're thrilled by this surge in enrollment, we know enrolling students is only the start. We need to retain and graduate these students so that they can join the workforce or transfer to continue their studies. State funding for the Success and the Last Grad Mile programs are critical support for our ongoing efforts to retain and graduate students. At the local level, our growing partnerships with Boston Public Schools and the city's Worker Empowerment Office are providing young residents with the opportunity to earn college credits while still in high school. This past summer, 200 high school age students participated in summer learn and earn programs at the college, through which they gained college experience while receiving a stipend. This semester, close to 200 BPS students are enrolled in dual enrollment or early college programs at the college. Together, we're showing young people that they belong in college while providing them with credits that can transfer to any institution. Even with strong city and state support, many RCC students continue to struggle with unmet basic needs, hindering their ability to complete their degrees. For instance, following a temporary pause in underfunding of SNAP benefits, the demand at the Roxbox, our campus food pantry, surged dramatically. Last week alone, more than 130 students visited in 2 days, requiring 3 restocks to meet their food needs, a need that is currently dependent on donor generosity, as we lack sustained funding for student food insecurity. Additionally, students face barriers to secure affordable housing, reliable transportation, and accessible childcare. These unmet needs, food, housing, transportation, and childcare, have a direct impact on students' ability to graduate and their academic success. Like community college leaders throughout the state, I firmly believe that ensuring student graduation requires comprehensive funding to address these obstacles. I look forward to hearing from the distinguished speakers and panelists tonight, who will no doubt propose sustainable solutions to the issues we encounter as leaders in this city. And I look forward to hearing from all of your thoughts. Look forward to hearing all of your thoughts and questions. Thank you for being committed, solutions-driven citizens working together to strengthen our city and Commonwealth. Welcome to Roxbury Community College.
Now, please join me in welcoming to the stage Higher Grounds Board Chair, my chair, Charlie Titus.
Good evening. Is that loud enough? Okay. Welcome and thank you all for being here this evening. I've been tasked with the responsibility of sharing with you the history of Boston's higher ground. Now, that's something I've done many times before at staff retreats and orientations, etc., but I've always done it off the top of my head. Higher ground is one of my real passions and has been for a long time. However, doing it off the top of my head is about a 40-minute speech. I'm glad you're laughing. But I've been told by the taskmaster for this evening that I have 10 minutes. He's around here somewhere. You've got a clock on me too. So I decided for the sake of discipline that I would script myself so I could stay on time. Boston's higher ground emerged from a deep understanding of the challenges facing Boston's communities, specifically those where resources existed but meaningful results remained elusive. The organization was created to address the gap between available social services and the actual outcomes experienced by residents, focusing on fostering collaboration, reducing duplication of efforts. Its inception was rooted in the vision of transforming neighborhoods by leveraging collective strengths and ensuring that families and children benefited directly from improved service coordination. Motivated by the belief that Boston neighborhoods were resource-rich and impact-poor, a perspective articulated in a 2009 report by Tufts professor Dr. James Jennings, it was observed that although over 130 social service organizations operated within Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan, negative health and education outcomes persisted for families and children. UB Jones posed a central question: why do these challenges remain, and what measures can we take to correct or improve the situation? In 2008, UB Jones convened a group of 40 community leaders representing sectors such as government, social services, philanthropy, education, and local communities. The assembly functioned as the working group for Dr. Jennings' subsequent report. In 2009, Mr. Jones brought these leaders together again to act on the recommendations presented. Following a year of facilitated meetings led by Tulane Montgomery at City Year's community space, Higher Ground was founded in 2010 under the leadership of UB Jones and board chair Charlotte Gola-Ritchie. Higher Ground was established with the goal of being a catalyst for collective action that works with residents and partners to achieve excellent outcomes in education and to promote the health and well-being of children and families in Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan. The organization's mission is to connect children, youth, and families in Boston's underserved communities to existing solutions and services that continue to improve, avoid duplication, and empower and transform lives from cradle to career by engaging in community-based organizations and key stakeholders in an effective and efficient service delivery model that includes robust partnerships and effective collaboration among a network of service providers and empowering recipients with significant decision-making roles regarding the funding of the services. The initial phase was both challenging and invigorating. With limited financial resources, Higher Ground relied on the generosity of its board members. Over time, strategic investment from United Way, the Bauer Foundation, and the Boston Foundation provided essential startup funding. Their confidence in Higher Ground's mission and methodology proved invaluable. A quote on the founding of Higher Ground from our founder, U.B. Jones. In December of 2008, I convened a meeting of nonprofit leaders in Roxbury and North Dorchester, elected political representatives, and foundation staff members to talk about the crisis for many nonprofit organizations struggling with the Great Recession. Some of these organizations were in danger of collapsing. We concluded that these distressed neighborhoods were resource-rich and impact-poor. After a series of follow-up meetings, many of the leaders who stayed engaged concluded that this unacceptable condition was due to a fragmented service delivery system created by solo behavior, keeping agencies from collaboration with each other. Therefore, these agencies did not have enough power to achieve desperately needed positive outcomes for their clients. There was no chance of achieving collective impact on the community, so it was posted that one of the ways out of this dilemma was to form an intermediary backbone organization dedicated to forging collaboration between social service agencies through the formation of strong partnerships. It was believed that such action would create greater societal cohesion in the community and build a strong social fabric. Essentially, the community needed to use a new organizational paradigm, hence Boston Higher Ground was born in 2010. Reflecting on my own journey with Higher Ground, it has been a 16-year experience marked by passion, challenges, rewards, and deep satisfaction. The relationships built with board members, staff, partners, and clients have been invaluable. The mentorship of U.B. Jones, along with the leadership of Charlotte Gola-Ritchie and Mosik Hakobian, as well as the commitment of all of our board members, has been particularly meaningful to me. Witnessing the initial vision of Higher Ground become a reality has been a true blessing and a life-enriching experience. I got to tell you, I'm inspired by this next generation of Higher Ground, led by Executive Director Dr. Brandy Brooks and an excellent young board. I want to say thank you to U.B. Jones for his vision and his leadership. You know, there are a number of stories I could tell you. I spent 16 years with Higher Ground. And in that time, the things that I experienced, the joy, the achievements of the organization, the blessing of being in a position to support such a magnificent organization that was so needed by this community. is the reason why I scripted myself, because I would be talking and I'm about to get going, so I'm going to stop. But for those of you interested, you can do a deeper dive into the history of Higher Ground by visiting the website at www.highergroundboston.org. Now, today's forum, the first of one of many, I hope, by Higher Ground, from dollars to impact. This forum is designed to provide stakeholders, you, with a deeper and more nuanced understanding of your ability to influence decisions regarding the funding that our communities receive. By participating in this session, stakeholders will gain valuable insights into the ways they can directly affect the distribution of resources and support that benefit their neighborhoods. We extend our sincere gratitude to the speakers and panelists who have joined us for this important forum this evening. This is, in a sense, historic. When you think about our panel, you have Secretary Tutwiler, Secretary of Education, Chairman Rodriguez from the Senate, Senator Liz Miranda, and Director Agarwal. I don't know that we've had these kind of forums with policymakers sitting right here in Roxbury for us to listen to talk with, not at, but to talk with, to question, to learn, and to understand. So we extend our gratitude, our sincere gratitude to all the panelists who have joined us. Their expertise and engagement are essential for fostering informed discussions and empowering our community members to drive the positive changes through collective action. Now, my next task this evening was to introduce a friend who unfortunately cannot be with us this evening, Superintendent Mary Skipper. That's okay by me because I get to introduce another friend, and that is Colin Rose. Colin is a young man who I've admired for a while. I've had the pleasure of working with him. He is also a board member of Boston's Higher Ground. He is the senior advisor to the superintendent of schools. He is a policy maker. He's a decision maker. He's aggressive, and he cares. He cares deeply about children in our community. Colin Rose.
Good evening. Obviously, I'm not Mary Skipper. A bit taller, a bit browner. Hopefully, you're not throwing tomatoes, but I'm here to speak on behalf of BPS and give a few short remarks so we can get to the panelists and the important conversation that you all came here to be part of. I am a good stand-in, I believe, both because I do represent Boston Public Schools as a senior advisor, but also because I've been a board member of Higher Ground for the last 3 years. And I come to the board both because Charlie asked, but also my experience as a resident of Roxbury on the work of Higher Ground. My first actual exposure to Higher Ground was when I was actually a teacher at the Higginson Lewis around 2015, when a little man named Mosick started popping up and kind of pushing us to do stuff. And I'm, what is this organization, Higher Ground? And I left, went to central office, became an assistant superintendent, eventually left the district, and now I've just come back about 9 months ago. But through the years, I've come to realize that Higher Ground really does what we would hope to do as a school district. I'll give you an example. A few weeks back, you might have heard Mayor Wu speak at the State of the Schools address. And she talked about BPS as a village. And that model is kind of how we intend, as a district leadership team, to implement our strategies. It comes from the African proverb, it takes a village to raise a child, right? And if you think about it, about 20% of a student's life is in school, right? Their waking hours. 80% of their lives, their waking hours are lived in the community, nested in their family. So it's foolish for us as a district not to try to align, to work with the community, to figure out ways in which we can partner to make sure that our children learn and are as healthy as they possibly can. And that's that village thought. But that's at the foundation of what Higher Ground does, right? From its inception. Boston is often described as a resource-rich and impact-poor town, right? And resources, just like power, are only as strong as they are organized. And the thought that you can bring community resources and alignment to holistically support students and families in Roxbury was foundational to the bones of Higher Ground and what they built out. Today, Higher Ground is a strong partner with the district, organizing to support families, as well as creating high quality out-of-school time programming. Higher Ground's work touches many of our strategic areas, and that's true of a lot of partners in our district. But what separates folks like Higher Ground is the deep knowledge of the community and the intentionality around aligning both to the district's work and the community and who they serve. I've seen the intention that goes on into Higher Ground's after-school programming, both working with school leaders and teachers to bring forward what's happened during the school day in their after-school space, and doing it in a culturally responsive way that respects and takes into account who is in front of them and the communities that they're serving. It's evident in the work that they do with families who are homeless, with the goal of stabilizing their living conditions, something that takes a lot of trust from families to open up, let them know their issues and go on the journey with them. Right? You can't do that without deep relationships within the community. As someone who focuses on strategy and equity, I know full well there are many things outside of school that impact student learning. And so by addressing ecological and holistic needs of both children and the families that they're nested in, Higher Ground has both had an immediate and I believe a lasting impact on the children and the families that they work with. In closing, I'm honored to be a board member of Higher Ground. I'm honored to be here speaking on behalf of BPS and the superintendent, and thankful for all the work that organizations like Higher Ground does in the city to make our job a little bit better and more connected to community. And finally, I want to thank all of you for coming out and being part of such an important conversation around resources and how to link up to make sure that our children get what they need to succeed both inside and outside of school. So thank you, and I'll get off the stage.
We invite you to turn your attention to the screen for a short video highlighting Higher Ground's work and impact.
At Higher Ground, we believe that every child deserves stability, opportunity, and hope.
I assembled a group of Boston leaders. This included nonprofit service leaders, foundation staff members, and elected officials. We met to discuss the status of Boston services in the distressed neighborhoods of Roxbury, Dorchester, and Mattapan, mainly serving residents of color. We concluded that these neighborhoods were resource-rich but impact-poor.
The Boston's Higher Ground, we connect our neighborhoods and we basically collaborate with other partners that are in the city to identify families, work with families, and basically connect everybody so that everybody is working together like a wheel. We help support homeless students and families in Boston Public Schools. We support a network of schools and a children's center, really just providing wraparound supports and enrichment. Everything from after-school programming, summer learning academy, social work interns, and other things that the school needs. If they call us and say, we need thermometers, then we gonna get the school thermometers.
I have a 7-year-old son, Avery, who's here in the program. He's been in the program for the last couple of years, and I think this has been beneficial for him.
One thing I like about Boston Higher Ground is that they always help others when they're in need, and also the close bonds that I made.
I really do enjoy this program. It's really expanded my child's reach in like creativity and art. Art is something that my child really enjoys. So this program has really excelled for desire for art and creativity.
We're so grateful for him to be able to learn music and play with other kids. And so for them to have a program like that at the school, it really like nourishes his soul, we can tell.
I think that's so phenomenally helpful to know that we can turn to higher ground to help us with. Most recently, we got them parking tapes to the other side of the street to make a more safe arrival. And the first person I called was Brittany. I was like, Brittany, I need your help with this. She's with me at City Hall. She's already told the city councilors, like, I know that if I ask higher ground for something, it's going to get done. So from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank Brittany and all of Higher Ground for the work that they do for our kids and our families. It's really great to know we have a partner that has our families back as much as we do.
We're going to celebrate a collaborative 5-year effort to house and support 500 students and families in the city of Boston.
We know that we can't solve this issue alone, and we know we have so much work to do here. But to reach that 500-mile mark for Higher Ground says so much for the work that they have done in our district and will continue to do.
I just want to say thank you. Even though it's been a long process and a hard wait, thank you for all the time and dedication you guys put in. As one of those 3,000, I just want to say thank you 3,000 times.
I have been in these family shoes. I'm not that far removed from where our families are today. I'm a single mother of 4. I was born and raised in Roxbury, so I come from here. I actually went to the Ellis School where my grandson now attends, and he's a part of the Higher Ground, both after school program and the camp in the summertime. So it's really kind of my life coming full circle, my way of giving back.
Extreme makeover, school reception area edition. Literally in 7 days, we are adding a whole bunch of pizzazz, joy, and lots of colors. How do you make sure it's a thriving environment? Part of that is bringing the joy in colors.
We want the building to reflect this rich, beautiful community we've created here. Anytime you can renew something in the building, you can renew something in the kids' spirit.
I would like to welcome you to the annual Educator Appreciation event. This is our opportunity to celebrate you and all you do every single day to support the children and families in our community.
If Higher Ground is successful in raising substantial funds to have resources to take bold chances to move its work forward to the next level, Its legacy will endure well into the future.
As the late, great John Lewis would say, we about to get into some good trouble, y'all. What's the song? How does the song go? It's a Stevie Wonder song. Ain't no stopping till I reach the higher ground. Boom. We need to add the southern beat to it. Higher ground. Higher ground.
Please welcome to the stage Higher Ground's Executive Director, Dr. Brandy Brooks.
Y'all clapping a lot. I need to have some ushers. Please pass the collection plate because folks happy and they joyous. So we want to get that energy and dollars. But no, thank you all for being here this evening. As Erica, one of our board members, announced, my name is Dr. Brandy Brooks. I am the Executive Director of Boston's Higher Ground. And I am so honored to be here this evening. And as anyone else has put on these types of events, they know how amazing it is the day of when you're running around. But I am so, so thankful that I have an amazing, amazing team behind me. You heard from one of the members of our team, our board chair, Tarly Titus, as well as Wayne Isagiri, leading us for the last 16 years and also entrusting us with the work that we do every day. I'd also like to thank all the Higher Ground staff that are here, from our after-school staff, our family-led stability staff, helping homeless students and families, I think I saw some Summer Learning Academy staff as well volunteering. Thank you all for all the work you do, because this event would not be possible without you. I'd also like to give a shout out before we get started with the panel to our media sponsor, Java with Jimmy, our photographer, videographer, led by Dante Luna and his amazing team, as well as the lights, because I look like this because the light's bright. So thank you, Roxbury Community College, all the staff, Shanera and others, for hosting us this evening, having us be in this space, because again, you made us feel at home being here. So I'm gonna call up our panelists in a second. Before I do, I want to acknowledge our sponsors this evening who gave generously to make sure we could be here and celebrate and have the amazing food by Suya Joint, our ASL interpreters, our Spanish Haitian translators here this evening. And so our sponsors this evening for the event, Liberty Mutual. Woo! Yes. Citizens Bank. Woo! Yes. The Titus Foundation. We have IBEW Local 103, Pathful, and as well Hubie and Kathy Jones, who are not here with us in person, but they are watching through live stream. Again, thanks to Java with Jimmy. So, hey, Hubie, hey, Kathy. And all of our community partners, some of which were mentioned in the video, but I'd like to give a special nod to Union Capital, Suffolk University, Boston Children's Hospital, and Oak Foundation. So without further ado, because y'all didn't come to really listen to me, as wonderful as I am, y'all really came to hear from our panelists and to hear how they feel we can work together as a community to support one another, especially given the trying times we are in right now. And yes, we are going to talk about the elephant in the room this evening, because our community is hurting. Our community is struggling. And we need to work together. As Colin mentioned, we need to be the village. and figure out what we're going to do as a community to support one another. And so I'd love to have my panelists, starting with Massachusetts Secretary of Education, Pat Tutwiler, the chair of the Ways and Means for the Senate, Michael Rodrigues. Come on up, and you on this side. Yep. Second Suffolk Senator, Liz Miranda. You're right there. And last but certainly not least, Tara Agarwal, who is the Director of Community Investments for Boston Children's Hospital. Thank you all. Okay. All right, let's make sure these mics are on, right? Well, they're just going to be bright tonight. So to get started this evening, we are in this amazing space of Roxbury Community College, which holds a very special place in Boston's higher ground heart, not just because the college is located in the community we serve, but because our founder, Hubie Jones, served as president here for about 8 months in 1992. And so what I'd like to do with the first question is us really talk about what are the ways, as we are in this beautiful space, that we can support more students engaging in college to career pathways. And so I will throw that question first to Senator Miranda, and we'll see where the conversation goes from there.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. I'm super excited. You know, I'm born and raised in Roxbury, 02119, so I'm at home. So if I get comfortable, don't get mad at me. But before I begin my remarks, I just really want to put our hands together for the chairman of Ways and Means, who represents the communities of Fall River and Westport, but also the whole state with 351 cities and towns. I think this is the first time you've been on a panel in this district. And so can we put our hands together? That's a very big deal. And it's a very big deal because we have a $64 billion budget. And the fact that him and I have a deep friendship and a deep partnership has ensured that Roxbury all the way to Hyde Park has gotten millions and millions of dollars for our community. And so the first way, you can't help people get to college and career pathways unless you make their experience and their quality of life better. Right? That's the most important thing. People's basic needs are not being met in our community. When I saw that quote about 600 families being helped by Higher Ground, the fact that there are over 4,000 students in Boston public schools that do not have a safe and healthy place to lay their head at night should have us all working around the clock about making that number go to zero, right? The fact that Higher Ground essentially should be put out of business. I don't want to take your job, but the idea that we have children among us who are struggling every day with food, with housing instability, with mental health challenges, with parents who are in and out of work. And then the elephant in the room is this community is largely immigrant. And to think about your kid not wanting to go to school because they're afraid that their parent won't be there to pick them up. In this economy being so bad with the shutdown going on for 6 weeks, and then to cut our SNAP benefits, which I can't think of another thing that is more cruel than cutting someone's ability to eat and feed their families. And so the first take that I take as a community organizer before I was a senator is you got to meet people's basic needs. The second thing you got to do is you got to fund the institutions if you want them to help our families. And Chairman knows this. Whenever I go to meet with him to talk about the issues in our district, that is why he has funded for multiple years $500,000 to Roxbury Community College, over $10 $10 million in DCAM deferred maintenance to the Reggie Lewis, over $500,000 to our technical college, the Franklin Cummings Institute, $100,000+ to Higher Ground. You've got to help the people that are helping the people. And so it's really important that we do that. And then the third thing, which is my final comment, I grew up in this neighborhood. I went to John D. O'Brien High School. My mom has been a cook, OB, Tigers for life. My mom was a cook. She was a teen immigrant woman who dropped out of Madison Park High School in her junior year to have me. And my mom maybe will retire next year. Hopefully, I've been trying to get her to retire. But she's still a cook today. And so when I was in school, my mom always taught me that education was the only thing people couldn't take from me. And she wanted me to study hard. But I needed places to go after school because my mom worked 16-hour days. And so if there wasn't a teen empowerment, if there wasn't an Orchard Park Teen Center, if there wasn't a Yawkey Boys and Girls Club in the YMCA, if there wasn't a Bird Street in Upham's Corner, I don't know where I'd be today. Because those people, with the support of city and state money and private donations, were able to keep the lights on, keep us fed. They told us we were loved. They told us we had opportunity, and they made sure that we did well in school. I needed a place to do my homework. My grandmother could not speak English. She could not help me with my homework. My mom was at work. My dad wasn't around. And so if I didn't have those institutions being there, I would never have become a state rep. I would have never became a state senator. And so the fact that we're using our money to fund the organizations that are helping the people is incredibly important. And the last thing, you can often not think, you can have an imagination that's very vivid, but if you can't see it, you oftentimes can't believe that you can be it, right? I'm a senator today because I saw Charlotte Golovici, I saw Diane Wilkerson, I saw Marie St. Fleur, I saw Linda Forey. These are the women that came before me, and I knew that one day, maybe, I could ascend to a leadership position like them when they would walk in the room. But if we don't have doctors in our communities and lawyers in our communities and engineers in our communities, and we're not funding the organizations to teach kids that they can be doctors, lawyers, engineers, construction workers, then they won't ascend to those things. And so the last thing I'm going to say is continuously providing folks that look like people in the community so they know that they can ascend to be anything that they want to be and even go higher than we are.
Okay. We are definitely passing around a collection plate. I'm so serious. Secretary Tutwiler, is there anything you can follow up on that, just with respect to how do we create more college to career pathways for our students to go to school, obtain higher education, and later we'll talk about how they can afford to continue to live here after that.
Okay, that last part is not in my purview. I just want to be clear. First, shouts out to you, shouts out to Higher Ground for convening this important conversation. Really appreciate the work that you do in community, with families, with young people. It's so incredibly important. And I feel honored to be here to have this conversation this evening. Just will quickly build on something. Well, first, new rule. I don't want to have to go after Senator Miranda going forward. But I do want to lift up what she said about the hierarchy of need, meeting students and families, food security needs, making sure that their housing's stable, making sure that they have access to mental and behavioral health supports. As a longtime educator, I can tell you that definitively that has to be thought about, planned for, acted upon first before we start talking about reading, writing, and arithmetic. Our universal meals program, free breakfast and lunch across the state. Massachusetts is one of only a handful of states that does that for all students attending public schools. That's a reflection of that deep belief. Also building a birth to higher education framework for mental and behavioral health, which has not existed in this state before. Frankly, I don't know of another state where it does exist. Our work to develop that is also reflective of that belief. Two things that I would lift up as it relates to making sure students have a workable, a paved pathway to a higher education and career beyond. One is early college. President Jefferson mentioned this earlier, and I'm pleased that he started with talking about the increase in enrollment in right here at Roxbury Community College. That is a sector-wide experience. As a matter of fact, Massachusetts public education is now back to pre-pandemic enrollment because of the removed barriers of cost and the supports that have been added. But we want to make sure the students are getting there. Early college is one of those programs. It's only about 8 years old in Massachusetts. This is an opportunity where there's strong partnership between school districts and higher ed institutions to allow high school students to take college courses while still in high school. Right now, well, actually 8 years ago, there were about 600 students engaging in that program. Now there's 10,000. We've seen about a 31% increase. Yes, let's give it up. 31% increase over the past 3 years to bring us to that 10,000 students, and we plan to double that in the next 5 years. I will say that early college in Massachusetts is an equity initiative. You won't find early college in Wellesley. You won't find it in Newton. You will only find it where there have been historically underrepresented concentrations of students. So we see this as being a big piece of the college and career readiness effort, because students who engage in early college graduate at higher rates, matriculate to college at higher rates. And importantly, it's not just about getting to college, it's about getting to the end, it's about graduating. Those students persist at higher rates as well. And the other one that I'd lift up, the other strategy, is innovation career pathways. We want every student in some sort of pathway in Massachusetts and our high schools. These are course sequences along with college courses and connections to industry for jobs and careers that are in high demand in Massachusetts. Clean energy, biotech, advanced manufacturing, healthcare, IT. We have these now in about 30% of high schools, and it's our goal to get to 100% of them, because we know that through these programs, students see the connection between what they're learning during the day and what they might want to pursue when they leave high school. So we see that as being a big piece of the answer.
Thank you for that. And just to follow up on that, because again, we're talking about pathways for folks, and Senator Miranda named a couple of the schools that were instrumental in her childhood and upbringing. And one of the things we know at Higher Ground is it's not just about the education, the joy that goes on in the building. It's literally about the physical structure as well. And we have so many buildings within Boston and throughout Gateway communities that are in need of upgrades, are in need of updates. And this has been an issue that Higher Ground's been working on for the last couple of years to make sure that if our schools are going to be upgraded, if our schools are going to be merged, if schools are going to be closed, we want to make sure families are part of those conversations, because nothing about us without us is for us. And so my next question I'd love for you, Chair Rodrigues, to respond to is, what can we do to make sure we're having those investments in the school facilities to where it doesn't take decades?
Thank you. Thank you very much for being here. And as Senator Miranda said, this is my first time here at Roxbury Community College. But it's not my first time having in-depth conversations with Senator Miranda. I think every time we talk, the senator is talking about what we can do to improve our communities, to help our families with food, with housing, with the cost of living, with education. So Senator Miranda, I'm honored and proud to be in your home, in your district. School building, like housing building, we have all these barriers to construction, permitting, engineering, design. We need to ensure that we can get shovels in the ground as quickly as possible. We did reform the Mass School Building Assistance Program a number of years ago, where it used to take 16 years in order for communities to get reimbursed from the state for the construction of their schools. And now they get it almost immediately. They begin getting reimbursed. We also created a dedicated revenue stream so that 1 penny on every of your sales tax goes to the Mass School Building Assistance Program. But we've been above and beyond that, because we know that still is not keeping up with inflation, with construction costs. So with the leadership and help of Senator Miranda, we've been able to invest extra so-called fair share dollars. All of us, the citizens of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, voted to create something called the millionaire's tax. You remember? Where we apply, it's a 4% surtax on all adjusted gross income above $1 million. I can tell you I don't pay a surtax on my income. But that money is dedicated to public education and public transportation. And in the public education world, we've been able to invest hundreds of millions of dollars of supplemental MSBA funds to help our cities and towns build those schools, improve those classrooms, ensure that the learning environment for our students matches the 21st century needs. So we're working on that. As they say, Rome wasn't built overnight. It's not going to change overnight, but we're making great strides. And with organizations like Higher Ground advocating every day for these issues, I'm confident we'll get there shortly.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Lily. To shift gears just a little bit, one of the things that we often hear in the community from the families we support, whether it's through our homelessness initiative, after school program, is just how can we get more resources and economic opportunities in our community? I'm sure most of the folks in the audience are familiar with the Color of Wealth study that was done in Boston, that a family in Boston of 4 has a net income worth of $8 compared to a family of 4 that has $250,000. And so one of the things is, how do we build a stable pipeline for folks to be able to have economic opportunities? And so I'd love to turn to Tara here, especially given her role as the Director of Community Investments, and some of the things that has been done at Boston Children's to invest in communities, invest in economic opportunities.
Great. Well, again, I just want to extend our deep gratitude, Brandy, to you and the Higher Ground team for having us here this evening, Senator Miranda for your leadership, Rodriguez for your leadership, and Secretary Tutwiler as well. I am here on behalf of the Boston Children's Hospital team. Do want to shout out my colleagues here, Destiny Ilanacho and Debbie Lay, and standing in for our Vice President for Community Health and Engagement, Dr. Sherry Nethersall. So as a healthcare anchor institution, we understand that children's health is deeply interconnected with wealth and the opportunities that their families have, and that it's intergenerational. A few years ago, the Board of Trustees at Children's Hospital, with this understanding, set aside a small portion of our endowment, about $10 million, to really begin to think about how do we invest more deeply in our community? How do we go beyond just the community benefits work that we're doing, the grants that we're giving out to the community, but really think about how can we deepen our impact through the partnerships we have with community partners like Higher Ground. So we really, took the opportunity at the hospital to think about how do we expand our partnerships as it relates to educational opportunity, as it relates to food access, as it relates to early childhood education, understanding that these are fundamental pillars for children and families to really successfully engage and become productive members in our community in the long term. So we've been able to use this endowment money in a way that's a little bit different than grant making. We're going out and making low interest loans to community projects that are really centering on having ownership. So we're partnering with Benjamin Franklin Cummings Tech Institute here in Nubian Square. We're partnering with Children's Services of Roxbury on their headquarter transformation, really thinking about the opportunity that these community-based organizations who have been here in our community for decades can now own a piece of the work that they're doing, own their facility, expand the work that they're doing to provide and bring more students and families into their agencies and organizations to extend that impact. We also think about ourselves not just in terms of the dollars that we have, but as a large healthcare institution, we do hundreds of millions of dollars of business every year. So how can we think about on our supply chain side, really bringing in small community business owners into our supply chain work? We do have a manager of supplier diversity initiatives. He's out in the community conducting engagement, making sure that business owners in the community know that Boston Children's Hospital is open to do business with community businesses. When we have RFP processes, we're making sure that community businesses do know that there is an opportunity available for them, and our manager works with them to educate business owners on the process to contract or submit a request for proposal with the hospital. So I guess those are a few of the ways that we are working as a hospital to really think about how can we support community wealth building.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So I want to switch gears a little bit because one of Higher Ground's major initiatives is to support the housing of homeless students and families. And as you saw in the video, we have celebrated the milestone earlier this year of reaching 600 students and their families being housed. But my question is, right now, I'm a new homeowner, y'all. Hold on. And there is a but mortgage, taxes, insurance, rent is too high, okay? So how, when we think about costs of housing and we think about our families right now that are really struggling, especially under, I'm just going to go and say it, cruel policies and intentionality behind cutting off SNAP benefits, cutting off people's access to health care. And so what I'd like to do is first ask Tutwiler, but then I'll go to Senator Rodrigues and Senator Miranda to talk about, first, Tutwiler, what are the things we can do from a school base to continue to support our homeless students and homeless families, make sure they get access and stay housed? What are the things you really see happening or that you would encourage from a policy standpoint or on the ground?
Yeah, thank you for that. And this goes back to that core value of really focusing on the hierarchy of need. As a longtime teacher, longtime educator, we're not going to see the kind of outcomes that we want to see with students if those important needs aren't being tended to. And what I would say is right here in Boston, you've got a really powerful model of community hubs, or in some places they call them community schools, where there are thoughtful, intentional partnerships between the school district, a local school, and all of the community-based organizations that provide lots of supports for families, whether it's families who are undocumented, who have needs and are looking for resources, whether families who are struggling with housing stability, families who are a family that's struggling to find work, right? All of those needs can be centralized in a school through the community school model. Again, there's 20 right here in the Boston Public Schools. For everyone's edification, my last K-12 experience was in Lynn as superintendent of the Lynn Public Schools. There's an emerging model there of community schools. The United Way has been really good in seeding that work in other communities. And I think there's an opportunity for us to think of this in a scaled fashion, really prioritizing the communities where the need is the greatest.
Thank you for that. And so follow-up question, first to Rodrigues and then Miranda, is what are some things that you're looking at from the state level that will help with housing access, rent control, and other things that I know the Senate and the House have been busy working on, especially in this coming session?
Thank you, Doctor. Yes. Housing costs and affordability, in general affordability, but especially housing costs, is our number one challenge. We were talking about this earlier. The number one demographic of outmigration from Massachusetts is the 25 to 40-year-old. Think about that. That is a point in someone's life where they're starting a family, where they're investing in their community, they're raising their family, they're contributing to their community, and they're leaving Massachusetts because of the affordability issues here in Massachusetts, most notably housing. It is too damn high, too damn expensive in Massachusetts. We need to, first of all, build. At the end of the day, I'm a very simple supply and demand side economist. We have high demand for housing and low supply. We need to build housing. We need to do what we can to remove the impediments for building. And by the way, the biggest impediment to building is not us at the state level or even our so-called friends at the federal level. It's at the local level. That all local zoning permits, building permits are all controlled locally. That's where the impediments lie, especially in our suburban communities like I come from and I live in. I always say I live in the town of Westport, right next to the city of Fall, between Fall River and New Bedford, two gateway cities in southeastern Massachusetts. And it seems like the last person to move into Westport wants to be the last person to move into Westport. We've got to stop that mentality. We've got to ensure that there's a place for my children, for my grandchildren, that they can afford to live. And by the way, it's not just housing. We have to think about affordability every day, whether it's cost of groceries, your electric bill, your gas bill, your heating bill, your insurance bill. Every time you get that mail, you open that bill, you get floored by how much the costs are going up. And that's something we will continue to hear a lot about that. It's all about affordability.
Thank you so much. Senator Miranda?
I got a lot to say about this one. Welcome to the home ownership. Hopefully it's in Roxbury too.
Oh, I'm still in it's Dorchester though, but I'm still in.
It's Grove Hall?
Yes.
Okay, that's still Roxbury.
Yeah.
Okay. Also old school Roxbury people, we don't want to give nothing to Dorchester, sorry. So housing's the number one issue for everybody, whether you're wealthy, whether you're poor, whether you're unhoused, homeless, whether you're coming here for college and deciding whether you're going to stay here after you graduate, whether you're a student who's trying to go to school, raise a family, it's the number one issue. So first, co-sign you. We've got to build more. Studies have shown that we need about 200,000 more housing units, whether they be apartments, home ownership opportunities, co-ops, mixed income housing, workforce housing. We need 200,000 more units for the people that are already here. The story about people leaving 25 to 40, I now have two siblings that live in Atlanta, Georgia. Both of my siblings try to live in Massachusetts. They love diehard Pats fan, diehard Celtics fans. But you know what? What they could get with their money here and what they could get in Georgia and North Carolina and Texas, which are the places Black millennials are flocking to, we can't compare. Now my brother has a 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house. He's living like a millionaire. And that's nothing like his townhouse that he had in Haverhill, which he scrapped to put together. So that's the second thing I want to make. The third thing is there's a lot we can do because we need to build housing for every type of person. And so I grew up in a community that there are 2 movies and a book about. I grew up in the Dudley Triangle. I own my home there. And the 2 movies are called Holding Ground and Gaining Ground. And the book is called Streets of Hope. When I was growing up, I thought the 1,400 parcels of vacant land were parks. And as I got older and became a community organizer and a youth organizer, and through the work at DSNI, I learned that it was done on purpose. It was urban renewal. It was illegal dumping. It was redlining, which banks used to draw red lines where Black people could not buy homes, or Latinos could not buy homes, where Cape Verdeans, like my parents, could not buy homes. And so it was done by design. And so I believe in community land trusts. And I think we could do more in the state to make sure that now in my neighborhood, there are 250 new homes that people have owned for over 30 years on this land trust. There's only 2 parcels left. There's only 2 parcels left because we believed in development without displacement. We made homes for the people who are from there so that they can maintain there. And so I think we could do more to fund community land trusts or small organizations to be able to sort of invest in the development. In the city of Boston, when there was 31 lots on Blue Hill Ave, I want to commend the mayor of our city because she created a program where she could dispose of those lots to first-time or small developers. And now my homegirl, Dariella, the first Black woman developer, DVM, now has 8 lots that she's building on Blue Hill Avenue. And that's not only going to create more housing, but it's going to create opportunities for small businesses because she is going to ensure that her community spaces are to them. And the last thing I'll say about this is just the sheer numbers. So people in Roxbury, the median income is somewhere between $17,000 to $34,000 in my district. Studies have shown it takes more than $60,000 to just keep your head above the water in the city of Boston. So if you're making $17,000 to $34,000, you're not even making enough to pay rent or to feed your family or to pay these exuberant, National Grid. I be cussing them out every week, National Grid and Eversource. I was like, what's this delivery charge for $500? Who are you delivering to? But the point is that if rents have gone up 40% and an average 2-bedroom in the city of Boston is $3,200, we can't afford to live here. And that is why I make the joke, but it's not funny, that Black Boston is in Brockton, that Black Boston is in Randolph, in Stoughton, or Canton, because literally we've lost 15% of Boston's Black population that had to move out of Roxbury, Dorchester, Mattapan, and even Hyde Park because it was cheaper to live in Milton and Easton and I never thought there'd be a day where my friends would get married and try to find a home in Roxbury and Dorchester where they love, and they could not afford it, and they had to move to Milton and Easton. I never thought that would be the case, and that is the reality that we have today. And the last point I'll make is, you put it nicely, Chairman, but I'm just gonna talk it like it is. It's racism. There are 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts, and some of them don't want working class people in their communities, okay? They're fighting the MBTA Communities Act. They're fighting workforce housing. They're fighting housing development. There's no reason why I have the largest concentration of public housing in the entire state between the South End and Hyde Park, right? Wellesley should have more. Milton should have more. Lynn should have more. And I think unless we address that, we're letting communities off the hook, because not in my backyard is turning to not in my whole town and not in my whole city. And that is not fair, because we deserve to live everywhere. Regardless of our race, religion, creed, we should be able to live anywhere in Massachusetts we want.
Darian, get the collection plate. Somebody go around. We're a nonprofit. We need some dollars, y'all. And so we've had a great conversation, but again, I do want to respect folks' time. So I want to get to this last question real quick. And I know, so we have had a lot of impacts recently based on federal decisions, inaction, actions, policies, rhetoric that are happening and impacting our community. Whether, some of the things Senator Miranda said, like, we have students and families that are afraid to be in the community because of ICE. We've had to implement our own internal ICE policies. We have had families now, because of SNAP benefits being cut, literally telling us that they are deciding, if SNAP benefits don't get turned back on, between rent, their utilities, and food. And so my question to all the panelists, and I'll start with Tara, is what are some of the things you are doing actively in Boston Children's, or that we can do to address this? And I really think about it as a large health system, and now you have healthcare coming under attack. And so love for you to respond to that. And then I'll go to Tutwiler.
My sister lives in Ohio for the same reasons your siblings don't live in Massachusetts. It's incredibly expensive for her to come back, and we'd love to have her back, but that's just not possible. So on the healthcare side, I think in terms of some of the changes we'll see to Medicaid, that will happen in the next 2 to 3 years. That is going to have a very dramatic impact, not just on our hospital, but the whole healthcare system here in the state. So we are looking forward to working in partnership with our Senate leaders on how we basically have to address the issue. We have a food pantry at in the Mildred Haley Jackson Square area. We have seen in the last week an uptick of about 100 additional visitors a day. So we, as a large institution that has resources, are looking and saying, okay, we need to open up our pocketbooks a little bit more. And we're making sure that we have enough food. So we're increasing the frequency that we're purchasing food to stock the food pantry so that we're not running out of items that families are coming for. We're also looking at how we can extend the hours we currently have available because we know the need is quite high right now. And then the other area that we are looking at is, listening to our community partners. As you mentioned, there's a lot around, having to have specific policies in place. So we've been working with our community partners. Can we bring in state partners to educate our community partners on know your rights trainings and things like that? So we're trying in the ways that we can to bring education and resources to our nonprofit partners in the community to make sure they have the most up-to-date information and are aware of the resources they can provide their families as well. But I do think we all need to be working together at this point.
Thank you. Tutwiler?
Yeah, so I'll just say this. For the past 10 months, probably daily, sometimes multiple times in a day, I say that I feel so privileged to live in Massachusetts, a state where the Attorney General consistently pushes back and fights legally every federal government overreach, every law that gets broken. And I also feel thankful to work for Governor Healy, who's empowered me to use my voice as a Black man to say, no, my community, we're going to continue to do the things that we know work for our community. We're going to continue to do the things that we know support learning, growing, and development of young people that look like us. We can use the terms diversity, equity, and inclusion and not feel fearful. I feel very privileged to be able to do that in this state, and I do it every single day. We do remain concerned about the overreach and the attempts to marginalized communities that are already suffering and hurting because of the government shutdown. For example, federally funded Head Start programs are at risk. 80% of their funding comes from the federal government. We just had one group of Head Start facilities in the Brockton-Norwood area close. That impacted 550 children and about 150 professionals. Thankfully, Governor Healy, with the support of the legislature, fronted the other Head Start facilities $20 million to stay open and continue to serve families, with hopes that the federal government will get its act together soon, because we don't have the resources to provide the nearly $200 million that the federal government uses or provides to support Head Start programs. But it's things like that that are in our immediate concern. And mind you, the families that are supported and served by Head Start are also the families that are impacted by SNAP reduction, or SNAP being not accessible. So it's the compounding effect of these decisions that we're really worried about, but doing everything in our power to address.
Thank you. And really briefly, as we close out, to both Senator Miranda and Senator Rodrigues, based on the federal inaction, some of the policies that have been enacted, what keeps you up and what keeps you going?
I think one thing that keeps me up is, even though I'm a senator, I'm still one of 11 children. I just buried my brother 3 months ago. I have lots of nieces and nephews. I still live in the same neighborhood I grew up in. And so I can't be a minute or a mile away from the destruction. My family, I have people on SNAP, I have elder care issues. And so what keeps me up is me not being able to not only help my district, but also help my family. I grew up in a Cape Verdean family that there was multi-generations all the time. And it's been harder and harder to take my money that I make even as a state senator and be able to survive as a single woman, but also being able to help everyone that comes to me for help. And it's getting harder and harder. And what keeps me hopeful is because I know that history teaches us we've been here before. I was a history major, and I've always learned about the civil rights movement and how the Black Panthers, they created breakfast programs and free grocery stores long before Amazon or any other place thought it was popular. And they're the original progressive people. And so I always remind people that we just need to keep hope. It's going to be tough for these next 3 years. And that's why the next thing I say is going to be the most important thing I say tonight, which is mutual aid and community care is going to be the only way we survive. That means even if you have a little bit, checking on your neighbor, sharing that little bit that you have, creating dinner groups, whatever we can do in our communities to provide help to those that are most needy, we've got to lock in right now. And I'm seeing it happen everywhere. I'm seeing it happen in Hyde Park. I'm seeing it happen in Jamaica Plain, Roxbury, and Dorchester. But each of you, if you haven't been connected to a mutual aid organization, I can help you through my office. But the important piece is we've got to stick together. It's going to be a bumpy ride for the next 3 years, and we won't survive unless we've got each other's back, because they come for one person today, they're just going to come for you tomorrow. And I fundamentally believe that.
Thank you. Senator Rodriguez.
Thank you very much. What keeps me up at night, and I don't mean to be Debbie Downer, but it's going to get worse before it gets better, right? So we are talking about SNAP. We were talking about Head Start. We're talking about LIHEAP, Low Income Heating Assistance Program. All of these cuts and reductions were the result of the federal shutdown. What we haven't talked about is everything that's going to happen as a result of the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill. Right? As we are peeling back the layers of One Big Beautiful Bill, and we discover that there's 137 federal tax code changes in that bill that for the first time in history were applied retroactively, meaning that they went into effect January 1st of 2025. So they're eligible in this current tax year. It's going to have an impact of over $600 million to the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. When we peel back the layer of this One Big Beautiful Bill and we find out that over 300,000 Massachusetts residents are going to get kicked off of Medicaid, does that mean that these poor individuals are not going to get sick? No. What it means is that they're going to access their health care in the worst place possible to access their primary health care, in the emergency room, which is the highest cost healthcare delivery. Everything that we've been working on in this state for the last decade of providing primary care support for all residents and all children in the Commonwealth, they're undoing quickly. So that's what keeps me up at night. The thought that throughout my career, we always complain, local municipalities complain about the state government. Us in the state government complain about the federal government. And our complaint was always, they're not doing enough. They're not doing enough. They should do more. But they always did something. This is the first time in my 30-year career that we have a federal government that not only are not our partners, but are actively trying to hurt us and take things away. And it's scary. And that's what keeps me up at night. But what keeps me going is the fact that, and we've said it earlier, thank God we live in Massachusetts. Thank God that we have amazing elected officials like Governor Healy and our Attorney General and Senator Miranda, who I love so much and great to work with. And God's blessed me. I have 2 grandchildren that, when I look in their eyes, when I hold them, and I'm Portuguese, so when they call me vovô, when they say vovô, and my heart melts, and what keeps me going is I'm not going to give up, because I want to ensure that, Massachusetts is a better place for them, for my children, and for my grandchildren.
Thank you. And could y'all do me one last favor? I'd love for you all to give a big round of applause for all of our panelists this evening. Thank you, Secretary Tutwiler, Chair Rodrigues, Senator Miranda, Tara Agarwal, and again, thank you all for being here. Thank you to our sponsors, Liberty Mutual, Citizens, Titus Foundation, Pathful, IBEW Local 103, Hubie and Kathy Jones, all of our staff, our volunteers, everyone. And just to continue that hopeful message, y'all can take your seats. One more second. Take your seats. As Senator Miranda said, it's really going to take our village supporting each other through this time. And so I'd really like to end with a call to action for those who feel led to do so, how you can continue to support the work that Higher Ground does and so many other organizations in the community. One of the ways that we're asking folks here to support, if you can, is to support our emergency food assistance aid. We have our homeless students and families that need access to food, especially as we are about a week and some days out from Thanksgiving. And so if you are able to donate, on the next slide is the QR code. You can also, there it is. You can also email us if you would like to donate, send a check, those types of things. As well, we have a scholarship named after two of our beloved members of the community that we lost this year, Kathy Drew and Renee Simmons. Both of them worked tirelessly with our families, particularly our homeless students and families. And so we have started two scholarships in their name, the Kathy Drew and Renee Simmons scholarships, to support homeless students so that homelessness does not disrupt their educational pathways and opportunities. And so if you feel led, please feel free to support that as well. And then lastly, we have the holidays coming up. And I know things are difficult, but for a lot of our families, it's a one bright spot. And this year, more than ever, we are seeing families ask us, are you still doing the toy drive giveaway? Are you still having the potluck dinner? Are you still doing the movie nights? And we are. And so if you would like to volunteer and help us support families, we are always looking for volunteers. This year, I will reprise my role as the Grinch. But if anybody else would like to be the gingerbread man or anything else, please come out and support us for our holiday drives, our movie nights, and our potluck dinners. And again, you can donate or you can send us an email. But again, I'd like to thank our panelists. I'd like to thank our speakers, all the volunteers for being here this evening. We do still have some food left. We don't have to go, so you got to eat, and walk. But again, thank you so much. And last but not least, thank you, Roxbury Community College, for hosting us. Again, shout out to our media sponsor, Java with Jimmy, Dante Luna and his amazing team. And thank you all for being here. And y'all don't got to leave, but you got to get out of here. So, and grab some food on your way out. Thank you so much, everybody. And we're going to get a quick picture of us.